everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Donathan, and today we're going to be talking about 10 questions about entrepreneurship. And these are questions that some people I've seen don't like talking about when it comes to entrepreneurship. I wanted to talk about them because I think it's very important, especially if you are just getting started with your entrepreneurial journey. I think having this information may help you decide if entrepreneurship is for you, or maybe how big of a risk are you willing to take on your entrepreneurial journey? And let's get started. So, are entrepreneurs born, or can anyone become an entrepreneur? I believe entrepreneurs can be born. And I'm saying this not that they're born an entrepreneur, but they're born with the idea that, hey, maybe they're big dreamers, or maybe they are someone who is just super determined. Maybe there's someone who just cannot stand losing, so they always have to win. They have some great traits that will really help them succeed as an entrepreneur. And then, you have your other person who maybe they're not born with the traits that we just described. Can that person become an entrepreneur? Absolutely. If that person can make it up in their head, right? They can believe that they can achieve things. They have a vision for what they want to build, and they have the willingness to put in the work, have the discipline, be consistent. They absolutely can become an entrepreneur. And I also think there's a third person, right, which is a person that maybe made money, inherited money, whatever the case may be, and they're able to spot an opportunity. They're able to have the right operator in place that knows how to operate the business. And that person technically is an entrepreneur, but maybe they're not the person who actually like runs. They just had the resources. They teamed up with the right operator. To answer the question, entrepreneurs are born with skills, right? Based on skills. And anyone who is willing to put in the time and the discipline to get skills can also be an entrepreneur. When should someone quit their job to become an entrepreneur? This question is really a question that you have to look in the mirror and answer yourself. If you're someone who is starting a business, maybe you're starting a landscaping business, and you're like, how many lawns do I need to cut to replace my monthly income? And when you break it down like that, and you're like, okay, I need to cut 100 lawns this month, and that's going to replace my 9 to 5 job. So I need to go find 25 customers, and I'm going to cut their lawns once a week. So that's 4 times. That's 100 lawns I'm cutting, right? Then I can replace my job. So someone who has the willingness to go and get those customers, and they're not going to sleep until they go get those customers, they can quit their job today and replace their income. Some other people, maybe they're starting something that doesn't have the revenue on the front end, right? Maybe they're building an app, maybe they're building software, so they don't have revenue that they can just go out and get immediately. So that person can be building whatever they need to build before they can go to market. And so they would still be working their job until they're able to go to market. Or there's just someone that needs a certain level of comfort and stability before they say, hey, I'm ready to leave my job now that I'm making a certain amount of money from my side hustle or this side thing that I've been working on. That person will, milk their job out as long as they can until they feel comfortable enough or they're making enough to leave their job. I think it's a personal decision. What skill has made you the most money? So I believe the skill that honestly has made me the most money is just awareness of myself, right? Understanding who I am as a person, understanding what I bring to the table, understanding the skill sets that I have, and also understanding my value. And so if you understand those things, and then you can put yourself into environments around the right people. If you can put yourself into the right business model that leverages your skill sets and what you know you're capable of, I believe that is inherently going to give you a better chance at making more money, just because you're able to align an opportunity with the value that you bring to that opportunity. And anytime I believe those two things can align, is a great opportunity to make money. Is entrepreneurship easier once you start making over 20K a month? Entrepreneurship is never going to be easy, and that's why so few people have success with it, and even fewer are willing to do it. So I believe the more you make, the more responsibility that you take on, right? The more responsibility you have, maybe you want to become a bigger giver, maybe you want to help other people. But also there's this thing that you're trying to grow. That's a living and breathing thing, which is your business. So as you want to grow and scale your business, your expenses are going to increase. Sometimes your customer acquisition cost is going to increase. Now you have to start hiring staff where somebody's not doing 100% of the effort or job that you would do yourself. So now you're hiring people that are 75, 65, 50% of what you would normally do or be able to do yourself, because you're trying to grow this business. So as you grow a business, usually the business becomes more inefficient compared to you doing it yourself, but it gives you the ability to grow and make more money, right? So it sounds weird, but I believe that you're probably going to be the most efficient person and the most dedicated employee you'll ever have. And it should be that way. So as you start growing, you start getting people who are less committed, who are less efficient, but ultimately that is what's going to allow you to scale and grow. But I don't believe that becomes easier, right? Because now you're managing people, now there's more processes, now there's more expense, now you're responsible for these other people that you weren't responsible for before. So I believe the more you grow in entrepreneurship, the harder it gets. What is the most amount of money you have ever made in a single month? So 256,000 is the most I've ever made, and that came from kind of a mix of different businesses that we're in: affiliate marketing, e-commerce, and then also we do some coaching as well. And that was the biggest month. And I think my biggest takeaway from that month is opportunity and the stars aligned. There was no trick to being able to replicate that. The stars just aligned. We had a great month, and we try to learn from our good months, but we also learn from our bad months, and we keep going forward. And I think that's the best thing about entrepreneurship is you never know, that the sky's the limit on what you can do, and you keep pushing yourself to do more and more. There's people where they're making millions of dollars a day. So I mean, I haven't even touched, anything yet. There's still so much opportunity for us to grow. I understand that most people may not ever see that in a year. Some people may not ever see that in a couple of years of their income. So I appreciate the ability to even be able to make that. Does making more money change you? I don't believe making more or making less money changes you. I think that you are the person that you are. If you're a giver, you're going to give your last dollar. If you have no money, you're going to try to give even when you don't have any money. And then I believe people who are selfish are going to just be more selfish. People who are insecure, their insecurities are going to show more. So I don't believe money changes you. It just enhances what's already there. So if you're somebody that's a giver, you're going to be able to give more. You're going to be able to do more. If you're somebody that's selfish, people are going to notice you're selfish more. I think money brings out who you are more. I think people who make more money, who already have bad habits, who already have bad traits about them, who already have addictions, these are things that are going to come out even more the more money they make. What is your biggest failure as an entrepreneur? I think my biggest failure as an entrepreneur is not realizing my value sooner. So, if you are wanting to be an entrepreneur, one thing that I think every person should analyze is, what am I really good at? What am I not so good at? And what can I bring to the table with anything that I'm going to do or be a part of, right? Understanding the market and understanding, okay, what is my value that I bring to the market? Is it my attention to detail? Is it my personality? Is it, how much I care? Understand your value, understand what you bring to the table, and don't ever let anyone kind of blow out your light, if you will. Make sure that what you bring to the table shines. I'm not saying you shine over other people, right? Because then you're trying to shut other people's lights out. What I think is if you bring something that differentiates you from maybe a partner or from, other businesses in your environment, let that shine. Let that shine. Let that be your shining light, and people will be attracted to that thing that makes you unique, that makes you have the value that you have. But you need to understand that first. So I think my biggest failure as an entrepreneur is not understanding my value and settling for anything that somebody is willing to give you because you don't know any better. How do you know when to keep going versus walking away? This is an important thing because in the early days of my entrepreneurial journey, there's a lot of times where I would hang on to projects that I either wasn't passionate about, meaning like I can't see a vision for the business or where I can take the business. And so when that happens, typically you're just not aligning with the opportunity. And I think that's when it's time to get out of it. If I don't align with the opportunity, meaning I can't see how I'm going to grow this, I can't see how I'm going to scale it. I don't really see how this opportunity is going to affect the marketplace in a positive way. Typically, that's when I get out. Sometimes you need to shift, which I think is different than getting out. So if you're doing something and you notice it not working or the market's not really giving you the feedback that you're looking for, I may need to shift, which I think is different than just completely saying I'm done and I'm going to go do something entirely different. Sometimes you have to shift and you have to figure out, okay, I was doing this. It doesn't seem like the market really resonated with it. What can I do differently to make the market have, resonate more with the business? But if you're like completely, I don't align with this. I don't have a vision for it. I can't see how this is going to grow. I can't see how this is going to scale. Pretty much, if you have negative talk every day about a business, I would say you need to get out of that business because you're not going to do the activity required for it to be successful. What is the biggest lie people believe about entrepreneurship? One of the biggest lies is that you can just do whatever you want. Entrepreneurship is not a get out of jail free card from a 9 to 5. It really is more of a sentence, a lifelong sentence, and a dedication to doing all the things that you ordinarily maybe wouldn't have to do at a job, right? So when you go and you work at a job, you typically have core responsibility or core set of responsibilities that you have at a job. When you're an entrepreneur, especially in the early days of your entrepreneurial journey, you are responsible for every part of that business. So if taking out the trash is like, I would never do that at my regular job. I'm not touching the trash, right? And when you become an entrepreneur, now you're touching the trash, and now you're touching, customer service, and now you're touching this other area of the business. Now you're doing supply, now you're doing logistics, now you're doing sales, right? You're doing all these things that maybe at one point in time you didn't believe that you would do or that you didn't feel responsible for. The other thing I think people downplay about entrepreneurship is the amount of consistency and determination that it takes on a daily basis just to keep going and pushing yourself through. A lot of people, I feel, love the idea of entrepreneurship in terms of the ability to make money, the ability to kind of manage your own time and schedule, but they do not understand the commitment that it takes to just keep pushing through, to keep going, and to really like just be unstoppable, right? Like figuring out how you're going to make something work when you don't have the resources to make it work, I think is an underrated thing. The last thing that I'll say is I believe a lot of people also discount that it's not just showing up every day. Like I think there's people online that say, oh, you just got to show up, right? You just got to show up every day. And I think that is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, you have to show up. But I think the bigger thing is you also have to be learning. You also have to become a student of the game. You also have to realize that I'm not just coming in here every day to do the same activity over and over and over and over and over again, right? When you work a job, that company's already figured out how to be efficient. That company's already figured out how they want their systems to run and everything like that. So when you're going into that job, you're doing the same task over and over and over and over again because the company's already figured it out. When you're an entrepreneur, these tasks and these efficiencies and these systems are not figured out. So you have to figure those out. And on a daily basis, things can change. Things need to evolve. You need to keep learning. You need to keep growing and adapting and really looking at the business and saying, hey, what can I do better today than I did yesterday? And constantly be trying to improve, which I think most people, when they get entrepreneurship, they don't do that, right? They just do kind of like what they believe is a routine where I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to do this set of task, and then tomorrow I'm going to do this set of task, and then tomorrow I'm going to do this set of task. And it's like those tasks may have not done anything. They may have not accomplished anything. And even when people work a job, they're doing tasks, but they don't really know how that impacts the business. But when you're in entrepreneurship, you really need to understand how what you're doing impacts the business. And is it actually making the business move or grow? And if it's not, you have to be able to look at those tasks and be able to figure out what can I do different that's going to help me grow and is going to help me move forward and actually is going to have an impact in the business. Knowing what you know now, would you still choose entrepreneurship? Absolutely. So knowing what I know now, one thing I would have done a lot earlier, like I said, is I would have understood my value. I think that's a critical thing. Understand your value, understand your skill set. The other thing I would have probably done is I probably would have developed more skills early on that I felt aligned with me as a person, right? If it's marketing, if it's paid traffic, if it's learning a trade, whatever the skill is that I feel would be most aligned with myself and what I believe I want to do, I would have like learned that a lot earlier. Because I feel like when I first started, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't have really any skills that were like hardcore skills that I felt I could go to market with. So I had to, over time, test a lot of different things and learn a lot of different skills, and really figure out what skills I wanted to focus on. But knowing what I know now, I would have picked a skill if that was sales, if that was marketing, and then I would have just started my entrepreneurial journey earlier. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody's journey is different. I don't think there's anything that I would do differently, but I'm just saying if I had to go back, knowing what I know now, that's one thing I would do. But I'd absolutely choose entrepreneurship every day. I mean, entrepreneurship is one of those things that has given me the ability to spend time with my son and watch him grow up every day, spend time with my family, do some amazing things, not just for my family, but also for other people and being a giver, like I said before. So every day I'm going to choose entrepreneurship. And yeah, it is hard. There's a lot of lows in entrepreneurship. There's some highs in entrepreneurship. There's constant learning in entrepreneurship. There's constant growing in entrepreneurship. It's awesome. You know, it's an awesome thing to be able to bet on yourself on a daily basis, be able to bet on yourself, when things aren't going right, be able to bet on yourself when, people maybe don't believe in you and believe in your dreams or whatever it is, and just consistently betting on yourself and coming out on the other side a winner is a great feeling. So I love entrepreneurship, and I hope this video helped you if you are on your entrepreneurial journey. I would love to support you. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will be making more content about my life, my entrepreneurial journey, me being a father, and just everything that has gone into the life that I have been able to create. And if you have any comments, love to hear your comments. If you are an entrepreneur yourself and you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, leave your comments and feedback too on some of these questions that we discussed here today. I would love to hear some of the things that you've went through on your entrepreneurial journey. And till next time, everyone, thank you for joining.